Coming up on the Clo Show today, something a little bit different, and this is really going to resonate with anybody who is thinking about maybe changing their career or just changing their life, changing something fundamentally different in their life. And maybe fear is holding you back doing that, your confidence, your ego, whatever it might be. I am chatting to Jennifer Davy, who is a life coach and spends all her time and energy helping women change. Grab yourself a drink.
The well-being warrior. Am I right with that?
Yeah,
okay.
Spot on. Yeah.
What does the well-being warrior stand for? As in, what does it mean?
Okay.
What's behind it?
So what's behind it? So it's my business name, and I came up with it one day. It was like a notion over coffee, and it was when I was starting to coach professionally after kind of training and stuff. And I remember thinking how I felt in the doctor's office back in 2014 when I was first diagnosed with postnatal depression. And I remember, I did, very severely after both boys.
Sorry to hear that.
It sucks. It's the worst. And it's an ongoing thing, to be honest. I will always have depression in the sense of I'm on medication still. It's a lot lower dose. Okay. But it's an ongoing minding of myself. Do you know what I mean?
Did you know that you had that, or when you were diagnosed? Did you know?
I didn't know. So I had Oliver. He was 7 months old, and I was in the nurse's office. He was getting his little 6-month vaccine, and the nurse said to me, "And how are you, Mum?" And I just broke down in tears, like the poor woman, because I was really, really struggling, and it wasn't the usual stuff as a new mother. Obviously everyone's exhausted when they're a mother for the first time parent. Everyone's overwhelmed, everyone's overthinking and self-doubt. That's very much part of the course, I think. You know what I mean? It's very, but this was something deeper. I felt numb on the inside. Do you know what I mean? I was just very much masking it.
Okay.
So when you say to me, "Did you know?" I didn't. And I can't believe I didn't know, because I would consider myself a very informed person, but I didn't know.
But that's
weird.
Part of the illness, I guess.
I think,
right?
I just didn't know until I was there with the nurse, and then she made an appointment with me. I had to go back to the doctor the following week. Then they essentially give you a questionnaire, you answer the questions, and it's like a scale, a sliding scale.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean? And she was like you have postnatal depression, which really floored me. The shame I felt when she said that to me.
How would you feel shame?
Because I was like, how can I have depression? I have a beautiful new baby, I have a lovely husband.
Yeah, I hear a lot of women say that.
Yeah, I just couldn't. I was like, what? So I really did, and I struggled with that for a while now, a good small few years, I would say maybe 2 years, and it took me time. Yeah, and even
of
actual shame, blaming myself, oh my God.
We're so horrible on ourselves, aren't we?
Yeah, we're so hard on ourselves, and I think a big part of it for me, overcoming that, was understanding my brain. I remember kind of going back around with the depression, so I hit a real low. Then I would look after myself and, go to counselling, taking medication, running, all the things, right? And then I'd go back to work and things would be great, and then it would hit me again. So it was one of those hit me again moments where I was actually, the doctor said, "I think it's got time to go to the psychiatrist now and kind of have a look at this deeper." And I remember saying to him, "Can you help me understand what's going on in my brain? What's this about serotonin?" And he was explaining it to me. And it's through that question, when I got the information, I was like, so it's actually not my fault.
No, it's a chemical imbalance.
It's a chemical imbalance.
Yeah,
so it's
basically.
Not my fault. It's nothing I did wrong.
No.
Because I remember a woman saying to me, "Oh, did you not look after yourself when you were pregnant?"
And a woman said that to you.
And she was a healthcare professional.
Oh, that's nice.
So I was like, boom, oh my God, do you know what I mean?
But she clearly had no understanding of what that was.
Absolutely. No. But it's when I realised the serotonin, I thought, okay, serotonin, there's nothing I can, for me, there was no amount of running. There was no amount of talk therapy that was going to bring my serotonin up to what it needed to be.
No.
So I needed medication.
Of course,
do you know what I mean?
Of course,
I needed it, right?
That's what it's there for.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I think anyone who, it's important to understand that. Depression is different for everyone. For me, it was very much a chemical thing, right? So I remember that fire in my belly when, the doctor was telling me about that diagnosis was, I'm not going to settle for this. I'm not okay with feeling this way. I want to be better. I want to be stronger. I'm not okay. I'm not going to just kind of go, okay, aren't I lucky to be alive? You know, I wasn't going to be like that. I was like, no, I want to fix myself, to be better, to be stronger. And I remember probably 5 years after that, the name Wellbeing Warrior came into me. Because I think women are amazing, and I think we can do everything. But I don't think we actually should. So
we shouldn't have to do everything.
Do you know what I mean? But we have the skill set to do everything if we really wanted to. Because we're amazing.
Absolutely.
But like, we shouldn't do everything. But also, it was that strength. Like, women have such a fire in them. When we want to do something, we'll move mountains.
We will.
And that's the warrior bit.
Yes. I love that.
That's
it. Take me back for a second. So you used to be a teacher, am I right?
Secondary school teacher.
Secondary school
teacher.
Okay.
So I was a secondary school teacher. I kind of fell into it because I did my arts degree, and then I did my master's in American Lit and Film in UCC, and I started subbing purely by accident during that. And I fell in love with teaching.
Come back to that. So how long did it take you then to move, literally to change your career in that moment?
So I mean, it was 2 years, like 2 years of kind of going inward and looking at what did I want, and I started sharing on my socials then, which I had never done before. So I started really sharing about my mental health journey, and like at that time, self-care was becoming like a really popular hashtag. Like everyone was talking about self-care.
So how long ago was this?
It's like 2018.
Okay.
2019.
So
do you know what I mean?
6-7 years
ago.
ago.
Do you know what I mean? It's becoming a thing. And so I was talking about that, and I was getting a real buzz out of helping women, and women saying, you know what, it's so refreshing to hear someone talking about mental health. And I'm such a teacher. I will always be a teacher. It's just what I teach is changing. It's just in me. And learning is very much a core value of mine. Like, I love to learn. I'm just a curious human. Do you know what I mean? So I went to a wellness for women event, right? And I remember being in a room full of all these vendors, all these women in business. So there was like, you know, boutique owners there was Reiki practitioners there was accountants that were like working only with female entrepreneurs. Do you know, there's all this, and I remember being in the room just lit up going, this is so cool. Like, I'm just loving the energy here. I had no notion of being a woman in business, no notion of life coaching, didn't know what it was.
Wow.
But I was there with my friends going, I'm going to be in a room like this in a few years. I have no idea what I'm going to be doing, but I'm going to be doing it.
It's a different type of energy, isn't it? Like,
very
when
much
you're
so.
in a woman's power, and a room full of just great people, women essentially, and that energy, it lifts you, doesn't it? It's
huge.
You just, like, there's nothing else like it.
No, it's
like
amazing.
Like-minded women, energy, positivity, wanting to help each other, wanting to lift each other up, and encouraging you to do absolutely anything. You follow that dream, and will help you and advise. Like, that energy is just incredible.
And those kind of events are life changing.
They are.
Like, that changed my life.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
totally.
it really did.
I totally get that.
And I was speaking on an event recently, and I was saying that to the women in the room, and I said, like, you will leave this hotel today a different woman.
Yeah.
You will. Do you know what I mean?
Let's go back to that now.
Yeah.
Okay. So you attended the event, and then when did you learn exactly how you can make a career out of that? And
it was actually that evening on the way home from the event. My friend said to me, "You'd be a brilliant life coach," and I honestly was like,
"What's a life coach? Is that gimmicky?" Or,
is that like really flaky woo kind of whatever? Even though I love a bit of woo, I'm very much into the energetics and the spiritual and stuff. So I did some research, and there's loads of like life coaching courses at different levels of kind of study and commitment, and I found the one life coach with neuroscience. I thought, that's like, I could sink my teeth into that. I suppose because my own mental health stuff and the psychiatrist conversation that day, that neuroscience popped off the page when I read it, because I was like, that understanding my brain was so transformative for me that I think if other women had that amount of knowledge, like, can you imagine what they do? They really would be able to overcome. So I remember running down to the bedroom. It was a Sunday morning, so Wayne was in bed reading BBC Sport or something. I said, listen to this. And I started reading it out, and he went, that's exactly what you've been talking about. Because I had been saying to him the previous Saturday over a glass of wine, I'd love to take all of the stuff I've learned for the last 5 years, because this would have been kind of 2019, right? Okay. Take all the stuff I've learned and turn it into a career where I'm actually working with women who were like me back in 2014. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. And so would that have been more to advise them at the time of career stuff, or to just
very
inside,
much inside their the stories they're telling themselves?
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? The way they're viewing
the
themselves.
bad way they're talking.
Negative self-talk would have been stuff that I talked a lot about, because I would have had a lot of that when I was going through my depression. Really hard things like, oh my God, my poor husband, like I'm sun-dosed, like I'm just no crack. Do you know what I mean? And my poor boys, like really, really been hard on myself. So like awful. And I think I wanted to help women to see that first of all, what they were saying to themselves wasn't true, because it really wasn't reflective of who they are now. Because so many, like, our self-limiting beliefs are often so old. Sometimes they can even be inherited stuff, which is a whole other thing. The word epigenetics is the words that anyone wants to research that to do that. But it's like the things that we believed about ourselves when we were 10 are so not who we are now when we're 41 or 57 or 90 or whatever. So therefore they have no place in our mind. Like if they're not reflective of who we are now, then they're not good for us, and we need to just put them in the bin. Do you know what I mean? Like, and
that's interesting. And do you think that, let me think about this for a second, do you think that we still have like negative thoughts about how we were when we were 10, for example?
100%.
That we bring those through to our adult life?
100%.
Really?
Oh my God. So what we're talking about here, we're talking about the subconscious really, and we're talking about those self-limiting beliefs are the things that we say to ourselves that are not true, that are not reflective of who we are, and oftentimes they're not actually fact. Do you know what I mean? Totally.
Now, the only reason I'm asking that, because that makes a lot of sense, but the only reason I'm asking as well is if I flip that, because I can talk a lot to women, because I deal a lot with this type of stuff as well in my business, and a lot, sometimes women would say to me, oh, you know, I was so confident as a kid and I believed I could do everything, and then I lost that as I got older. So I suppose
that's a great one, because I suppose what I would be interested if they say that, I'd be like, what age were you?
Right.
I wonder were they under 7? I wonder were they 4, 5, 6? Because we're walking subconscious up to the age of 7, and then we're different after that. Then we start to, as we find our little personalities, and that's when we sometimes, particularly girls, we're told certain things. Oh, don't wear red lipstick. Don't show your shoulders and your legs. Show one or the other. Wear this. Don't wear that. Do you know what I mean? So it can change. But also, I suppose that when they're talking about, oh, when I was a kid, it's like that's the inner child, really, isn't it? The lovely part of us that can be carefree and not give a shit. Like,
absolutely.
But it's as we get older, we move away from her and we become a different version of ourselves. So I think that's lovely that you're seeing, like, I would love to meet those women, because I'd be saying, Matt, let's bring her out into the front. And I suppose you do that with your business. You're helping that part of them come out again through clothes and colour and fashion.
I mean, it's more surface level in comparison to what you do.
But it's a really nice way of doing it, though.
But I mean, so when you're styling, you're not just styling a body, you're styling the soul almost, right? So you're really trying to bring that personality out and have them wear that as their skin almost. And this is who I am, and show up to the world that way.
It's so much,
and I think a lot of people, I mean, I say surface level in comparison to, you go a lot deeper.
But I know what you mean,
But you know what I mean? Because a lot of people do think, oh, styling is surface level. It's not if you really get into...
I don't think it is with you though, because we've had, even though, like, we're only meeting in the flesh.
I know, right?
But we've been chatting for months, and that's why I love that. I actually don't follow many beauty fashion people at all. But what I loved about your approach, the minute I found on Instagram, is you're very honest, but you're very much talking about it in terms of, like, it's the energy, it's the way you feel, it's how it makes you feel.
Yes.
Like, you're very, like, from the soul. Like, that's what I love about you. So there's nothing about what you do that's surface level. Like,
and
I know, I don't think you're saying that about yourself, but I just wanted to reiterate that as someone who's observing you, that's how I feel.
Thank you.
Do you know what I mean? You're always talking about that, like, and I just think that's gorgeous. And the thing about that is it's so much more sustainable, because I think when we find our style that's ours, the pleasure is attached to it straight away. So we're going to do it. Whereas if I'm wearing jeans, remember there a while ago, maybe they're still there. I don't follow trends too much, but you know the wide leg jeans?
Yes.
I hate them.
Okay, that's okay.
I hate them on me. Like, they don't suit me.
Yeah.
But if I kept making myself wear them because I saw somebody telling me I should, I'm not going to put them on. Do you get me?
No. And you know, never follow trends. You wear what's best suited for your shape at the end of the day. But really and truly, it's what makes you happy.
Yes.
And that's why I think, like, I love what, you know, we're going to talk a bit more about what you do. But I love the fact that what I do complements that a lot. Because at the end of the day, you know, once you're wearing, you know, when you step into your confidence, as I say, you step into your outfit, it will take you so far, but it's not solving anything really at the end of the day. It's helping, you know, lift your spirits, but it's not solving your problems. Do you know what I mean? I'm very clear about that. You know? So to get back to what you do, just out life coaching, you went, bingo, that's for me. And I want to do that professionally. And how do I go about it? And you did your course, and then that was it. And then did you literally just leave your career behind you at that point, or did you parallel?
I mean, I did. I coached for a small, because I was still teaching, obviously. I had to finish out the year, so I was doing both. Do you know what I mean? But I took a career break straight away. Even though that was very scary, because I was walking away from like a very safe, pensionable job.
Oh, sure, I did the same.
Do you know what I mean? It's scary, isn't it? But at the same time, it was like, I can't do both, and I'm not doing this, so I'm doing this. So I took a career break, and then the following year, then I resigned, because I had set myself up in business. I was making an income from it, and I was lit up, and that was it. And I resigned, and it was like the easiest. I didn't even tell my husband I was resigning. I just literally rang school and said, Pat, I won't be back. Easiest non-decision I've ever made in my life.
Wow.
Like, there was only moving forward.
I know. Well, I think when you make your mind up like that, and I'm the same, you can't look back.
No.
You can only go forward. Because if you look back, you'll shit yourself.
And the ego will kick in, and we give
everything
will kick in.
So you just have to keep going and never look back, and just keep building and visualizing your plans. And you know, if you put the work in, they're going to happen.
Absolutely.
It's just there's no what's the word I'm looking for? It's not going to fail. There's no room for failure.
It's just growth. Like, it's just learn from everything.
But I think you naturally grow. Like, if you've got a growth mindset, we both have that. I think that you're halfway there.
Yeah, that's so true. You've a lot of work done already. Like, you don't have to switch that, like. And
you can't listen to voices in your head. You can't listen to any negativity or any disbelief. You just have to, you know, I always say blinkers on, block out the noise, and off you go.
Yeah, I think that's a really good kind of, I can actually see that. Like, I'm a visual person. So that's
me too.
A really good analogy. Like, absolutely.
Cool. Okay. So tell us a little bit then about what your business, like, what do you do for women? Like, what is your job?
I suppose I work with women one-to-one. And then
what kind of women do you work with?
So I, like, a lot of my women, I'm working with women who they're very, very busy. Oftentimes they're career women, and they're very successful in their careers, right? And I think that's why they can feel that when they come to me, they're on the cusp of something. So they know they're meant for more. They know they want to do something else. And more often than not, what they're thinking about doing is completely the other end of the spectrum. And that's what makes it scary. So, like,
give me an example of that.
So an example might be someone has worked in finance.
Okay.
And might have 1,500 people underneath them. And they want to go out, they've done all these courses, and they want to do energy healing.
So kind of like what I did. Switching from being
corporate,
a senior corporate exec to being
absolutely.
A stylist.
So it's a complete shift. It's a shift to their energy, a shift in identity, a shift in the way they talk.
Everything and anything. Everything. I can absolutely
so it's so scary. So it's hugely scary. So their egos kick in with, oh, don't do this, stay where you are, and millions of reasons as to why they shouldn't do it, but they can't escape that nagging feeling that they really, really want to give this a go.
And life is, you know, it's a cliche, but it is short.
It is.
In fact, it's short.
It is,
And, you know, as far as we all know, we get one time. This is it. As far as I know, I believe, you know, whatever. And that's it. You just got to make your shit happen at the end of the day. And
I think, like, my favourite words at the moment that I'm seeing coming up in conversations I'm having with women is clarity and confidence. So sometimes they will have clarity on what they want to do, but they don't have the confidence. Sometimes they've loads of confidence,
but they don't
have that brings loads of ideas, but they've no clarity.
You're literally talking about me 2 years ago.
Cool.
I was that person 2 years ago. I had clarity. I had very little confidence and very little clarity. to do what I wanted to do because of my age.
Okay.
And it was more so because I felt quite institutionalized in what I've been doing, because I've been doing it for 30 years. Even though I had trained as an image consultant back in the day, and I had worked at it for a while, for 2 or 3 years, and I was still kind of doing the little shopping thing for clients up and down over the years. But to make that change and then to decide, okay, I know the industry I want to be in, but what exactly do I want to do? And more, what am I prepared to do at my age? And I know that sounds silly, but I ran a business, so I knew I couldn't intern for someone because I'd kill them. And I knew my ego was kicking in going, you're going to be better than most of these people, but you still have to learn the ropes.
Yes.
So there's a lot of all of that going on in the background in your brain. And so what I did then, because my ego is as big as a planet, but it's also fear, because fear drives everything and everyone. And for me, it's fear that drives behavior constantly. I decided just to carve my own niche out.
Brilliant.
And then so I do that, and then I've only got myself to blame at the end of the day if I don't make it happen. But I don't look back, I just look forward. So I mean, I'm turning 51 now, and that did factor in my thought process, because I really needed to speed it up, because I don't have enough time on the planet to do everything I want to do. And I just needed to accelerate that shit. And okay, how could I do that? Okay, I carve out my own niche.
And how did you make that decision to go from, I want to actually do leaving it and doing the fashion thing?
So for me, it was, so back in the day, I always knew that I would do this in my life. I knew I was made to do this. I always knew I would do this. But I was a single parent, and at the time when I did the course, basically when I look back and I remember Gokwan and Trini and Susanna and shows like that, I was like, this is for me. This is really what I want to do. Because we didn't really have fashion school in Ireland back in the 80s. I mean, there probably was one, but no one tells you, go to fashion school or do whatever, you know. Anyway, roll it on. So I went through a redundancy with my last company, and it was really my husband who sat me down and said, this is your time now. Go and pick this up. Go and you do what makes you happy, because this has made you miserable for the last few years. And it was kind of like what you said. I was literally on this wheel, and I was so frustrated because my creativity just wasn't, there was no outlet for it. And I was so busy with my last career. My job was 24/7. I was traveling constantly all the time. I had a big team under me. You know, if anyone's in sales, especially tech, it's always crazy busy. So you just don't have that time to do much else. And you can either be, in my opinion anyway, you can either do your job, and which was business at the time, or else be creative. You can't do both, because your brain doesn't allow you to be creative and do your business stuff, right? It just doesn't operate that way. So I knew I had to park one to really do the other. So it was the redundancy, and it was very much Dave supporting me and saying off you go. And then it was, for me, it was very much, okay, where do I go now with this then? So, you know, I did a couple of different types of styling, and I thought I wanted to do one thing, and then I ended up doing another. But it was all within the same field.
So good. Because I think,
but I also did his head in for a year, because I kept going around in circles.
But you kind of have to have that. It's almost like not a rock bottom, but you know that you have to sit in the frustration. You have to sit in that.
You really do.
That frustration is like, I even go through that. I'm pivoting my business at the moment now, and I was feeling it there at the start of January. Like, you know, I know I'm on the cusp of something, and you want it like yesterday. And it can be very uncomfortable when you're in it. But I always say this to my clients, like, if you're feeling that right now, that's like, we call it in coaching, like the edge chaos. Like, that's actually really good, because you know you're onto something. Because your nervous system's like, hang on a second now, Jennifer, what is this? What's going on? Stay in your lane. And you're like, no, as uncomfortable as it feels, it's part of it. It's necessary. You kind of have to have that. Do you know what I mean?
To drive you to the next level.
Exactly. And I think that was what my depression was for me. It was like I'm very grateful for it. I'm glad that happened. Honest to God. Glad
as
that
crazy
happened.
As that sounds. Do you
know what I mean?
Yeah, no, because it shaped you for
it will. And to be honest with you, the likelihood is it will happen again. I will have a depressive episode again at some time in my life, but I know it'll be the makings of the next thing I do in my business, and it will shape the next. Do you know what I'm saying? Everything is a learning.
And
I can say that because I know I've lived it.
Yeah.
I know it's
no,
true.
I know,
and you know it too.
I know it too.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, I suffered anxiety for years and years and years, and
that's awful. Like
it's disgusting. It's horrible. And like you, I was embarrassed. I was ashamed about that for forever. I could never speak about it because the position I was in work. For me, if I'd even ever mentioned that, for me, I would have thought I would have been fired straight away. Yeah. And then the higher you go and the more successful you become, and that's like a dirty little secret in your brain. Yeah. And the thing is, you know, I haven't had it in so long, thank God, in the last 3 years probably since I've moved and done my own thing. Because I don't ever self-doubt myself anymore. But when you're stuck in something, I think again, kind of like a hamster wheel, where you know that's not where you're meant to be, that causes anxiety. And then it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse and builds and builds and builds. Totally. But I do also, like you, I will never take it for granted. I would never have an attack again at some point, or an episode again, even though I have my own coping mechanisms now, knowing how to handle them, and I spot them straight away and everything. I'll never say, I would love to think I would never have another one, but it'll always be in the back of your head that it could happen.
But again. You know what? If and when it happens, you'll nip it in the bud so much
sooner.
Because of all those tools. You know, that's how I feel about it. Like, I'll spot it straight away. I'll know, absolutely. And I'll be able to retreat and rest. Yes, that's what I need to do. But the big thing for me is I have so much self-compassion now that I'm okay with resting, and there's no guilt. And you know, that's huge. Like, that's huge. And the biggest thing for me is there's no embarrassment or fear of saying it anymore. So if I was in the middle of something now and I actually had a panic attack, I would say I don't say apologies, because you're not apologizing for anything. Because I was about to say I'm sorry. I'm not. And you just say, you know what, I'm having an attack right now, an anxiety attack, and I need to step away for a second. And that's fine. Absolutely. And if more people, if you felt that you were able to say that and normalize it, it wouldn't even happen. Because fear, it breeds fear, and anxiety breeds fear. And I was only advising someone the other day who rang me, a dear friend of mine, and he was experiencing this for the first time, and I said, the first thing you have to do is remember you're safe. You're in a safe place. You're safe. Nothing can happen to you. Let it wash over. The worst thing you can do when an anxiety attack comes on, in my opinion anyway, is fight it. Because the more you fight it, the longer it lasts, and you're fighting your brain, and you can't fight your brain. You have to give in, succumb, know you're safe, and it'll pass. I mean, that just makes a lot of sense, doesn't it, as well? Like, it took me a long time to realise that. But anyway, I think the biggest issues I'm seeing with the women I'm coming to at the moment is the confidence and self-belief piece. For so long it used to be things like a lack of boundaries and overwhelm and stress, and of course they are there as well. But what I think I'm noticing, the women that are coming to me now are even more aware. I think it's because societally we're talking about these things more. They're aware of their I'm just not confident. I really don't believe in myself. So we're able to get right to the root of it straight away. And maybe,
and why do you think that is?
I think they're seeing me talking about these things more, and they're watching my stories, because always my clients would come from Instagram. Do you know what I mean? So they're seeing the way I'm talking about things, and they're kind of going, I would love to be able to do the things Jennifer's doing, but I couldn't do it. Why can't I do it? And they're getting curious. So my women are curious. They're soul heart-led women. Do you know what I mean? They're not looking for quick fixes. Like, I would say to them, don't get me wrong, I love running into Tesco's and get myself new knickers and pajamas. It's lovely, right? It's lovely.
I want to do that now.
Yeah, right?
It's a comforting thing.
Yeah, it's so nice. But it's not going to help. It's like what you were saying earlier on with the surface and going deeper. Like, it's not going to solve the problem. So my women are they're guilty of doing those things, of a spa day or a night away, and thinking that it'll sort everything. And they realise that's not what this is. This is going to take a bit of time. And they find that hard, that notion. So when they find me, they're talking to me, they're like, I trust you. I love your energy. You're very warm. I think you really get it. And I do get it. I know the stories they're telling themselves, because I was the exact same a few years ago. Like, I really do get it.
And these are women that want to transition from one aspect to another.
Absolutely. Okay. So they're not all necessarily career women. Yes. Sometimes they're women who our kids are just getting ready to go off to college, so they've been mother for so long. It's a very real thing that they call it empty nest syndrome.
Oh, it's horrible. I went through that with my own boy. Yeah, when he left the house. It was just like, he didn't go away, but
I know
the house,
but it's a it's a shift in the dynamic in the relationship,
and it's
so if you've been mother for so long and now the kids don't have activities, they don't have stuff, they're gone. You're like, what am I going to do? And then that brings up, well, what do I want to do? I have no clue. I don't like the fact that I have no clue what I want to do. I want to figure that out. So it's like that. I would have a lot of women who are after ending relationships. So it's very much, it's confidence, identity, direction, clarity. Women who will want to retire but they don't know or what like be. So because we're so defined by our roles, whether it be a job, a role as a mother, a role as a daughter, a care teacher.
That's it. It's being defined.
Yeah, it is.
And with definition brings clarity. But it doesn't bring room for movement.
True.
Or change.
Yeah, that's true. And I think that's what I always like, that part, because my program is broken up into modules. So like one of the sections is, you know, when we start to kind of expand and we realize, oh, I actually don't feel comfortable doing this. Why don't I feel comfortable? Because I'm terrified I have notions. And I'm terrified of having notions because people will judge me.
I know.
Why would people? So it's like you almost open the door and all of this. It's like opening up the messy press in your house and all the stuff falls out. You're like, okay, I want to go through this now. And that's what the module 2 is in my program. We go through it and we get rid of the stuff that's not helpful. We don't need it. And we put in, I mean, metaphorically, new things into the press, new beliefs, new stories we tell ourselves. Do you know what I mean? So it's very, like, it's very much building yourself back up, but to an even better version than you've ever been, like a version that's really strong.
And how do you do that? Is it through conversation? Is it through NLP? Is it through...
Yeah, so it's a combination. So obviously the coaching I do is neuroscience, so it's very much like the NLP. So we are looking at the subconscious. We're looking at those thoughts, those stories that we tell ourselves. We bring awareness to that. So it's like we have Zooms together, so we meet every fortnight on Zoom. When we go through it module by module, we take it very much piece by piece. Then I get them to do work for me in between the sessions and I review that for them, because I want them to be always delving deeper and getting curious and discovering what's going on. And then there's a WhatsApp support as well, which they love, because it's like, you know, when you're doing something, when you're on a journey, and some people don't get it, it's lovely to have someone that you can send a message to, like, Jennifer, you're not going to believe what I just did. And I'd be like, oh my God, Clo, that's amazing. And nobody else will get the bigness of that. But you know what I mean? So it's like there to share those wins. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I get those little I get clients sending me pictures of outfits and say, look at this, and what you
there
did this, and look what I did this, and look at this.
Sure, I did it for you even. I've done it for you because you got me thinking about new colours, and I'm now picking up colours that I would never have thought of were mine, and different kind of flowy dresses that, you know, like, oh, I wouldn't have worn those before. Clo, what do you think of this? You're like, that's actually gorgeous. Do you know? And it's like having someone in your corner, isn't it? That gets it.
So it's a big confidence booster.
It's a huge confidence booster. Because even I had client calls this morning, and one of the ladies who was about kind of a third of the way program, she said, I know I shouldn't ask this. I said, ask it, girl. She said, how am I doing? And I said, you're doing great. Like, you're doing really well. You're getting more open. You're more receptive. And it's interesting that and I said to her, isn't it mad how you even had the awareness of, I probably don't need to ask her that question, because she's starting to trust herself more, which is gorgeous. And I was saying that to her as well. So so it's a difficult one, isn't it? Who do I work with? That's who I work with.
No, that's a great answer, because it's not just career driven women. It's really women who want to transition, I suppose, from the part they're where they are right now, and just not have the confidence and belief in themselves to get to the next, wherever that might be.
And that's it. And I help them figure out where that might be as well. So we do a whole kind of designing on the vision, like what is the life you want, and then we get very practical with it. We break it down into bite size. So it's like reverse engineering. So we look at it in a very kind of a practical way, but in a very kind of like, I always see mine as like we're manifesting and we're aligning action, and we're being very kind of pragmatic about it. So it's like that lovely blend of my own real life experience, my teaching skills, and then the neuroscience bit blended. And that's why I think I'm very unique in what I do. There's nobody else doing what I do the way I do it. Because I created the program myself.
I love that.
So it's totally unique. So if you want someone that's going to tell you what your goals are and wear a suit, like, I'm not for you. Like, I'm just not.
To be honest, it's kind of like similar to me in the sense of, you know, I trained as, you learn the logistics of, let's say, image consultancy back in the day, right? I would never consider myself an image consultant. It's kind of archaic. It's almost like image consultant, you know, it's real 80s type thing. But also kind of gives me, I don't know, it comes with this kind of tone to it, and you have to dress a certain way and act a certain way and be a certain way, and you know, if you want to elevate yourself and be more professional, and yes, of course there are things you can do to elevate yourself and be more professional and stuff, but just to box it in like that, that's not me. I'm never going to be that person, and I'm never going to tell you you should do A, B, C, and D. You know, it's like me saying wear grey, beige, and cream. I fucking hate grey and beige. You know what I mean?
I totally get it. I think we're very in sync, aren't we? Because it's like a coach should never tell you what you should do anyway, so they should. Because I remember when I was training, like, I remember one of my lecturers kind of saying, like, you never bring your own stuff in. So, like, say for example, I value education, right? And I have a client say to me they never went to university, they went traveling. If I said, why didn't you go to university? That would be me bringing my stuff in. Because but like, that has no place in it, because it's their space. Like, I always say this when we're working together, this is your space to think out loud, like, get it all off, brainstorm, and then I will help you bring it all together into a vision.
Like, literally drop that ego, whatever it is, and just get rid of it. Because for me, I've noticed for the last 3 decades, like, literally fear and ego are the two things, I mean, they're hand in hand anyway, that drive and stop and prevent and block so much of the good stuff.
Absolutely, you know? Like, I could not agree with you more. Like, and I think when we realize that, and we know how it shows up for us, like, I know when my ego is talking to me. I can hear the voice. And it's great to be able to go, I call her Maggie, I'm like, Maggie, I should give mine a name. Maggie, you're grand on your bike, I've got this, I'm
Maggie, fine. I think mine would be a bit nastier. Like, Maggie's a nice name though. Do you not like the name Maggie? I think of Maggie
I have a bad association. I have a bad association with Maggie from primary school. I had a teacher.
So that's what it is.
So it works for me. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, that's good. Just talking about what would be the best bit of advice you could give them right now?
Sit down with a pen and paper. And brain dump. First. Read back through what you've written and underline what stands out for whatever reason. And don't attach any meaning to it. Just see whatever pops, underline it.
Okay.
And then leave it, take some time, and come back to it in a day or two, and just have a look at the words that you've underlined and kind of say, what does that look like? How does that feel? How does that sound? And just write again, you know, write, brain dump again, and then kind of say to yourself, okay. Because at this point, I would bet that they're starting to get ideas, and they're starting to think about what could be, what is possible, or what could be possible. And I would say to ask yourself this one question, and I do it for myself all of the time, especially when I'm stepping out my comfort zone. Just say to yourself, how will I feel having done it? That's it. And immediately you're kind of you're changing the biochemical feeling in your body anyway. Because you're switching it from adrenaline to something like dopamine. So it's that from pain to pleasure.
Yes.
And then it's easier to do it because you're thinking about the pleasure at the end. So it's like
I love that.
And so simply brain dump, underline the words that pop.
Okay.
Get curious. Go off for a walk. Do some housework. Leave it mull in the back of your mind. You will be thinking about it. I know you will.
Of course,
And then ask yourself that question, like, how will I feel having done that? Whatever that thing might be researching a course, it might be going to an event, it might be buying that colour. Like for me, buying that colour I never buy. But how will I feel having done it? And just leave the rest of it up. Like, it doesn't matter. Don't attach any meaning to it outside of that.
And these could be for very simple things.
Anything.
Doesn't even have to be a big event or something that you think is huge. You can do this for very simple things that you might have just, you know, not done in the past.
This could be for something like, you know, I'm thinking of my own life's examples now. Do you know, like going up to pick the boys up at school, I could sit in the car or get out of the car and walk up to the school gate. For somebody who's struggling with their mental health, they might always stay in the car because they just can't deal with anyone. Right? But if you want to kind of shift yourself a bit and potentially maybe make a new friend or to have a conversation or to connect with someone, that simple act of saying, I'm going to get out of the car, I'm going to walk up to the school gate and I'm going to say hello to somebody. that's a small little thing, or it could be a bigger thing, like I'm, you know, researching it.
Jennifer, it's been so much fun having you on. There's so much insightfulness in everything you've been talking about.
Thank you.
Where could people find you? How can we find?
Well, I suppose there's my website, wellbeingwarrior.ie, but I'm all over Instagram.
Like, you do a lot of events as well.
I do actually, yeah. I've actually got an event coming up in April.
Oh, brilliant!
It's my 4th in-person event. I think women are just hungry for these events now. I think we really want to be connecting. So on the 5th of April in Mount Conquer, if it's a Saturday, we're going to do an afternoon session, and it's just going to be it's going to be like, I would say to someone, if you watch me on my stories, it's going to be like my stories on steroids.
Okay.
That's how powerful it's going to be. Do you know what I mean? So it's going to be very, very powerful. It's going to be life-changing. If you come along and you take on board what I'm saying and you get involved with the exercises that I give on the day, you're not going to be the same person leaving the event. And I can say that with complete and utter confidence.
Wow. Because
I've been doing this for 4 years. I've done events before. I worked with over 150 women. My program works. Like, it works. So if anyone's like on the cusp, I would say definitely grab the ticket for that straight away.
Okay, and they can get that where?
So you can get the link on it's on Eventbrite, so Wellbeing Warrior, and it's also all over my Instagram as well, my stories.
Instagram is
wellbeingwarrior.ie. Yeah. So hopefully I'll see you there.
Thank you so much. It's been amazing. It's such a pleasure, and hopefully not the last time you'll be on the sofa.
I don't think so. We've loads to talk
about.
You're my
first guest on this sofa.
On
the sofa, you're my first guest.
Yay!
Brilliant. In the new setup.
What a great conversation for your first.
Oh, amazing.
Love what you're doing, and I can't wait to watch it grow.
It's for me, and I know it's for you, it's the gratification of seeing what you're doing in action by women believing in themselves, and they're growing and growing.
Absolutely.
And growing, and that's really what it's all about.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you.
This is a platform for me to be able to share not just everything style, but also really women empowering women, women helping women in all, like I said before, anyone who identifies as a female and the gays, sorry, should have said the gays, are my audience here. Thank you for watching, and like I'm going to say, if you love what I do, like and subscribe. And I actually don't know what's going to come up next week. I'm in Portugal for a few days, so I might do a whole style show from Portugal. Why not, right? Anyways, have a fabulous week. Enjoy Mother's Day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.